Now, today marks a really auspicious occasion where the nation has published something that I think is worth going over in its entirety, specifically because I consider it necessary reading to understand the particular political moment we're in regarding Democrats. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering, where are the Democrats? Why aren't the Democrats doing more? And I know that I myself have wondered that. I'm very much in favor of protesting, and I do like seeing them get out there, but it's not enough for Dick Durbin at 85 years old to put on a coat and go outside and chant, "We will win." Like, that's not enough. We need more. We need firebrands. We need people who are going to go out there every day and pin like tuberculosis outbreaks on RFK Jr., pin measles outbreaks on RFK Jr., talk about all the Trump plane crashes that are happening. We need people who are actually going to look at the news and weaponize it on a daily basis. We need people who are going to have their staff troll through like Reddit threads about federal workers who've lost their jobs. Who are going to elevate these people to national positions. We need them to actually be doing politics rather than what Hakeem Jeffries, that spineless, sorry sack of a man who apparently leads the House Democrats, who's just, oh, but what can we do? We can't do anything. Meanwhile, he's jetting off to Silicon Valley to schmooze with his Silicon Valley donors, the same donors who worked for Elon Musk and Donald Trump in the White House. Okay? What you need to do is you need to do real politics. But that requires a spine. That requires the courage to rise to the current moment. And that is something that our current Democratic leadership does not have. And I've been racking my brains about whether it is ineptitude or are they just unaware of how to do politics? Are they just caught unprepared? Are they just that malicious? And I've been going back and forth between all of these explanations, right? And I haven't been able to settle on one. But I think that Dave Zirin in The Nation today really nailed what is happening here. And we're just going to go through this article because it is maybe the best article I have seen on this that really breaks it down in a way that I think is digestible, understandable. And I think after we go through this, a lot of us will be on the same page about what we have to do going forward and why the current crop of Democrats is so paralyzed. And to be clear, it's not every Democrat. AOC is out there fighting. You got your Bernie Sanders out there fighting. But we need more. We need more than what the Democrats are willing to deliver right now. And this is why we need to be up their asses on the phones, in their offices. And why on social media, we need to become like a holy terror to them. We need to be out there saying, you know what? You're not going to have a spine? Resign. You're not going to have a spine? We'll find someone to primary you. There is nowhere you can run from this accountability. Because it's going to come, and there is going to be a bill to be paid for this cowardice. So let's jump into this. From Dave Zirin, Why Democrats Won't Throw a Real Punch. Faced with existential threats from the right, the Democratic leadership remains timid. Faced with demands for justice from the left, it goes on the attack. Okay? And yeah, that's a fair summation. A relative of mine, an older gent with a penchant for salty language, yelled over the phone at me in frustration, "Where are the damn cojones in the Democratic Party?" His use of language aside, which, like, okay, that's pretty mild. That's pretty mild. But all right. This argument that the Democrats are not raising nearly enough hell as apartheid's chest burster, Elon Musk, vivisects the government from the inside is all over the liberal left. The phrase going around is the Democrats have brought a lectern to a social media war. Masses of enraged, terrified people are looking at the analog, slow motion leadership of Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer and the zero-calorie rhetoric of House leader Hakeem Jeffries and want them replaced by people who know how to fight. As the nation has reported, when Democratic politicians have shown up to protests, people aren't cheering their presence. They are howling at them to do more. And yeah, absolutely. Like, the first week, maybe the first week and a half even, was just glad to see Democrats come out of their burrows, to see if they could see their shadows. I was happy to see that. But with the additional reporting coming out that Democrats are angry at the fact that more is being demanded of them as we slip further and further into constitutional crisis, as thousands upon thousands of people lose their jobs on a daily basis, and they have the they have the audacity to complain about being asked to do their jobs by the people who put them in power. Okay? Yeah, they deserve to be howled at. Your constituents know which of you has a spine. You'll notice that a lot of people aren't yelling at AOC. They aren't yelling at Bernie Sanders. They're yelling at the do-nothing Democrats. That faction of the Democratic Party that is so ideologically committed to being as lazy, as big a sack of shit as possible. All right? That's where we're at. To be clear, people aren't criticizing the efforts of individual Democrats trying to expose this deadly grand theft taking place in plain sight. The cry is, why aren't the Democrats as unified and ruthless towards their enemies as Republicans? If Republicans, I really do need to get that, Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps clip. I need to get that on the soundboard because it really does read like that. I need it every single time Democrats plead inaction. All you got to do is point to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell out there, same position, thwarted everything Obama wanted to do for years. For years. They did far more with far less. Why aren't they taking the fired federal workers who are sharing their heartbreaking stories, the one that Musk says were being paid to do nothing, and making them famous? The cancer researcher on the verge of a breakthrough, the park ranger in Yosemite who won't be there to conduct rescues and save lives, the air traffic controller who can speak to the connection between understaffing and recent plane crashes. Is it even safe to fly in Trump's America? The Democrats should be amplifying these folks, writing op-eds about them, refusing to go on camera without sharing their spotlight, pressuring their Instagram influencers to raise them up. But instead, we learn their stories from Reddit. As Moira Dunnigan wrote in The Guardian, why are the Democrats so spineless? The conventional wisdom is that they simply don't know how to wage a social media and public relations attack that can, to use one blaring example, define people like J.D. Vance as a Nazi curious Manchurian candidate. And guys, we know that they can play politics when they actually care to. You know? If anyone was paying attention this past year, you'll know that I got involved with efforts to keep Jamal Bowman in office. And our ragtag little crew went out to New York and knocked doors. But we were no match for the amount of money that got poured into Jamal Bowman's, race against him. And Democrats helped torpedo Jamal Bowman. They know how to play politics. But we need to lose the theory that Dems are spineless and just don't understand exactly how to wage a political war. Well, hold on there. I think we can hold on to the fact that Democrats are spineless. They just, are very selective about when to grow a spine. They're very principled about their defense of neoliberal politics. We know they can be vicious because we've seen them execute that kind of operation against the left since Ralph Nader caught them sleeping in 2000. We've seen them do it maliciously during Senator Bernie Sanders' 2 primary runs. We saw black and brown women stamped as Bernie bros with enough, yes, ruthless repetition to make it stick. We've seen President Barack Obama, with all his rhetorical powers, hector young black men, but not aim his electric cadence at Musk and his Palo Alto brown shirts. It's not that they cannot, they will not. When it was Sanders or an individual who demanded even a modest change in policy on Gaza, they brought out the knives. When it's Musk and his apartheid army of incels, they wield sporks. Yet, as we keep seeing, spork fighting is demoralizing. And that's kind of it, right? Like, everything that these do-nothing Democrats do is designed to lull you back into sleep. Oh, it'll be fine. We will win. Ha. It'll be fine. Just go to sleep. But the thing that has eluded me is why? Why are they like this? Why are they so willing to sell out their entire constituency? Is it really naked greed? Is it incompetence? Is it like active maliciousness? Okay. What is motivating this? The question then is why, amid this tornado of anger, are democratic institutions so soft? Here's what I think, and here's what I think we can do about it. So this is what I found really helpful for organizing my thoughts and understanding our current political landscape. All right? Number 1, they'd rather have peace with billionaire tech bros, see Jeffrey's recent Silicon Valley visit to mend fences, than wage a struggle to get their money out of politics, have campaign finance reform, and, for the love of God, tax their obscene and unearned wealth. Yeah, they're cowardly. They don't want to pick up the fight for the working class against these billionaires. They want to have it both ways. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. All well, the proletariat of France survive on crusts in the street. Number 2, a wing of the Democratic Party actually supports the substance, if not style, of what Musk is doing, accepting the argument of bureaucratic excess and the need to stop waste. Several put themselves forward to join the entirely made up extra constitutional operation known as Doge. It's not that this waste doesn't exist, looking at you, defense budget, but in politics, timing is everything. Legitimizing the need for Doge at that moment provided Musk with the runway to destroy lives. He thinks workers are the waste and wreck the best parts of this country, like the parks, the medical research, or the ability to fly on a plane with the certainty of it landing safely. And like, yeah, that's kind of it. Part of why the whole finding fraud, waste, and abuse argument works so well as a cover for what the Republicans and our techno feudalistic overlords embodied in Elon Musk. Part of the reason it works so well is because it is layered in that digestible slop of neoliberalism. It's the language each one of these high-level Democrats has been steeped in for the last 30 years. You know, like they've been brought up in the slop. They were molded by it. And so where they are at is essentially agreeing with, oh, well, yeah, we do need to slash the budget and find all that waste, rather than tax billionaires. Because that's what neoliberalism is all about. It's about privatizing our public goods. It's about slashing waste at the expense of the services provided. And so fundamentally, they agree with this project. They just think it's kind of rude. It's uncouth. That's their main problem with it. Okay? So far, okay, we have a faction that is just blatantly, you know, they've given up the struggle. They've given up the fight against the billionaires, and they just want to float along on the inertia. Okay? We have a second group of Democrats who fundamentally agree with the Republicans, but think that the way that they're going about it is very rude and unacceptable. But, you know, something being rude isn't really going to motivate you to fight it necessarily. Now we come to number 3. The legacy of Clintonian triangulation and the corporate-centered rightward pull of the New Democrats means their top campaign consultants for a generation have been insulated, isolated, and utterly incapable of being left populists or the brawlers for the working class that AOC says they need to be. I remember the Reverend Al Sharpton crushing right-wing hecklers at a Democratic primary debate when they went after fellow candidates Wesley Clark and Joe Lieberman. Since Sharpton was the only person on stage with real movement experience, he actually knew how to assert his will and inspire a crowd to fight to join him in shutting them down. Too many Democrats are weak under the bright lights. Again, not everyone melts, but as an institution, this party is melting. Okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I talked for 7 hours straight yesterday. It does a number on my voice. Okay? So, one of the things I hadn't thought enough about prior to this article was that the consultant class that has infested and is festering within the heart of Washington, D.C. All of the people who are like full-time advising all of these Democrats have also been brought up in this neoliberal bullshit. And so a lot of these, newer politicians who, haven't been there for 30 years, well, they get advised by people who have. They get advised and poisoned by these neoliberal shills in the corporate consulting class. Okay? It's disgusting. I've had water, guys. I've been I've been taking care of my voice all day. I just did a number on it yesterday. Stop telling me what to do. I got it. I appreciate the concern though. 4. The legacy of Obama was that a coalition based on demographic destiny would win elections in perpetuity as long as they were not Republicans. And this was another point that I had not considered enough, right? Which is that part of the rhetoric in 2008 and onward has been steeped in the idea that essentially Democratic victory is inevitable because young people just inherently vote Democrat. You know, Black people just inherently vote Democrat. It's just like the calculus of the political consulting class and politicians has been very, very, very much shaped by the idea that, well, you don't have to do anything different. You just have to maintain the status quo, fight for the status quo. Anything that shifts it, well, that could piss off donors. And in the long run, everyone will wind up being Democrats. It's the same type of thinking that led, men in the 90s when women started picking up and jogging and running became more popular with women. And like women's average running time started going up. And men in like runners magazines were like, oh, pretty soon women will be running a mile in under 4 minutes. They'll be running miles in 2 minutes. It's the same type of thinking. That's not how people work. It's not how those trends work. All right? Like, they assume the status quo will remain static, and it doesn't. Okay? It meant that in 2016, they were caught unaware by how much the country was becoming unglued. Yes, a white lash was a big part of Trump's electoral college win, but that doesn't explain everything. According to the highly respected University of Virginia Center for Politics, 15% of Trump voters had pulled the lever for Obama. When Hillary Clinton lost, the party explained it by saying she won the popular vote, and there was Russian election interference. Both true. But the party's institutional response should have been, holy shit, what did we do wrong that caused us to lose this fascist ass clown caked in orange concealer? Maybe if Democratic leaders pretended Elon Musk was a 22-year-old Palestinian from Dearborn, Michigan, they'd show more fight. And unironically, you guys know that they would. You guys know that if Elon Musk was like a Palestinian immigrant, these people would pull out like Kalashnikovs. They'd be pulling out. You'd see Dems like pulling out like automatic weaponry, calling for a revolution right now. Is right. Point number 5. Israel, Israel, Israel. In 2025, marching lockstep behind Israel means defending ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and billions in weapon sales so they continue unhampered. It's also taking the opposite position of what their potential voters, particularly young voters, want to see. To watch Trump yank Netanyahu to the ceasefire table was so enraging because Biden could have done that at any time. Instead of disciplining Netanyahu, Democrats armed him. They did this even at the price of not being able to do a rally on a college campus in an election season out of fear of being heckled. And due to the aforementioned isolation, they have no stomach for hecklers. When a Columbia University encampment for Gaza, led by Jews and Muslims, called for peace, Democratic darling Representative Jared Moskowitz compared the organizers to the Nazis of Charlottesville, instead of, say, comparing the actual Nazis around Donald Trump to Nazis. This is morally bankrupt, and voters know it. And that's absolutely true. Number 6, Democrats are allergic to raising people's expectations. And as a result, they cannot solve problems. Instead of codifying Roe legislatively after the Supreme Court killed it, they raised money off its death. Biden could have opened clinics on federal land. And before one says Trump would have just closed them, that's politics. Creating viral images of Trump shuttering abortion clinics. And before one says they didn't have the votes to codify Roe, think about how Trump's thugs cracked down on any Republican with even a stray musing that, for example, the drunk rapist with the Pat Riley hair and plausibly deniable white power tattoos shouldn't be in charge of the military. The contrast is shattering. President Biden let Senator Joe Manchin, a corrupt and charisma-free coal baron from a small, unwinnable state, become the most powerful person in the world. Real brawlers for the working class find a way to browbeat Manchin into voting accordingly. And I'm going to stop here, right? Because all of that is true. All of that is true. Dave Zirin in this piece, absolutely spitting. Absolutely spitting. I know some of you have asked for the link in chat. I'll link it. Don't you guys worry, but I'll link it after we're done. Like, the hypocrisy, the capitulation to people who, for the sake of moderation on its own, without like actual reasons to be moderate, just because it sounds good to be moderate, they capitulate to folks like Joe Manchin. For no reason whatsoever outside of donor money, the entire Democratic Party capitulated to AIPAC. A real president, a real leadership does not get so easily bought. Continuing on. I get why people are maddened by Democratic Party fecklessness. It's easier to accept that we could build a fight, but the party is too cowardly. We also do not have the time, nor is there any sign of mass inclination to build a new third party for the working class. What we need to do is, yes, pressure these Democrats at every turn to fight and fight harder. I've made so many calls that my finger has become a misshapen claw, and you should be making calls too. We need to go to town halls during the current recess and raise hell. We must also start to organize independent plans at every demo to move past Democratic passivity. I'm going to just pause here. And yeah, we cannot wait for these people to save us. We have to make them save us. We have to step in go to their offices, look them in the eye, and demand action. We have to call them and let them hear the rage and the trembles in our voices. We have to pressure them by any of the means available to us. And we have to get those who are likewise frustrated and likewise feeling helpless to do the same. We have to protest them, embarrass them. We have to force them to act. If they want the embarrassments to end, if they want the heckling to stop, they need to do better. That needs to be the single unified message. We need action. And if they still look you in the eye and they say, no, then we need to look inside of our own communities and find ourselves someone who will carry out the will of the people. Find someone to primary them. And it might really come down to, like, you. Someone watching this might need to look inside of their own heart and say, I am that person. And step up, grab several people, and start a campaign. It might come down to us. Because God knows it's not going to be these people if they ignore our calls for a spine. They ignore our calls for action. So call, email, show up to their offices, show up outside of their places of work, protest, fight, because we have to. That is the circumstance we all find ourselves in. We cannot simply stand idly by anymore. Because that's what got us here. We cannot be complacent. We cannot simply say, oh, well, we'll get them next time. And you know what? If you really want to scare the fucking hell out of these clowns, you look at who their biggest donors are. If they're not responding to calls to their office, if they're not responding to you going to their office and looking them in the eye, if they're not responding to protests of their events, start protesting their donors. Start taking aim at the people who funded them. Because if they don't care about you, they definitely care about their money. We need to fight. Continuing on. I've been to several rallies in DC where I'm among hundreds of people ready to tear apart Elon's smug soldiers. But they end with Dems telling us not to lose the faith and, of course, to give them money. And then we go home. What's needed is not compliant shows of strength, but active disruption. If Representative Maxwell Frost is being stopped by security from entering the Department of Education, an absolute outrage, he shouldn't just tweet about it and raise money off of it. He should show up with hundreds of people. We are here, masses of us who would not be so easily moved. And if Frost wants to lead us inside, then more power to him. But if that's not his plan, he needs to get out of the way. Democratic Party leaders are not built for this moment. New DNC chief Ken Martin is no Merrick Edelman. But for the Democrats that get the stakes and the ones who want to fight, they need to realize that their audience is vast, and the time for niceties like abiding genocide enthusiast John Fetterman's efforts to become the new Manchin instead of openly planning to primary him is over. The salty old man in my life is ready to throw himself on the gears of this system. And he is not alone. I know a lot of you are in that same boat too. A lot of you are ready to throw yourself into the thick of it and gum up the working of this infernal machine until we can fix what has gone terribly wrong. If you're looking to organize with folks, join your local Democratic Party and show them how angry you are in the meetings. Join your local DSA. Plan protests. Make a point to plan protests in your area with these local groups. Make those protests sustainable so that it's not just one day of action, but multiple days of action wherever and however you can find them. Protest on the weekends. Protest when there is spare time. When several of you can get together, protest. In DSA, if your local Dems are not responding to you, the DSA is a great vehicle to throw those Democrats out of office. So join your local DSA. Join your local Dems. Pressure them from the inside and the outside of the party. Often in your local Democratic groups, your national representatives will show up. Your elected officials will attend local Democratic meetings. We're in a time of increased responsibility. And this entire wretched machine requires us to comply and be complicit with it. It's time to stop complying and time to stop being complicit. And I'm gonna finish this. We're moving into a part 2 of this segment because I think it Dave Zirin's piece really dovetails nicely with the memo that came out today from Ken Martin, the DNC chair. Okay? We're going to go over this real quick. Now, this memo is titled Democrats Will Fight Against Trump's War on Working People. And I have to say, that's a good title. I like it. Some pretty words. Pretty words. But does Ken Martin have better than pretty words? Let's find out. Memorandum. 2 interested parties from Ken Martin, DNC chair, date February 18th, 2025. RE Democrats will fight against Trump's war on working people. When I talk about the state of the Democratic Party, I often speak about the impact of perceptions, what voters see, feel, and sense. I believe the canary in the coal mine for what happened on November 5th was the recent showing that, for the first time in modern history, Americans now see the Republicans as the party of the working class and Democrats as the party of the elites. I grew up in a working class family as the first son of a teen mom who had 4 kids by age 20, and I wouldn't be where I am today without Democrats who fought for policies to help families like mine not just get by, but get ahead. So, As the Trump agenda fails our nation's working communities, we have to take seriously the job of repairing and restoring the perceptions of our party and our brand. It's time to remind working Americans and also show them every day that the Democratic Party always has been and always will be the party of the worker. And I have to say, that's a pretty decent start, except for one bit, right? This quote, we have to take seriously the job of repairing and restoring the perceptions of our party and our brand. No, you have to take seriously the project to do something. It is not enough to say you stand with the worker. It's not enough to signal that you support workers. You have to do something. You have to act. You have to have policy. So where is it, Ken? He goes on. My roots are in labor. I was the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party for 14 years, the only party of its kind in the country that unites working people by name, where we went 25-0 in statewide races, secured 2 trifectas, and passed one of the most pro-family and pro-worker agendas in the nation. But before any of that, I proudly carried a union card and organized for the labor movement. I fundamentally believe that our party is grounded in the values, principles, and aspirations of the working class. As chair of the DNC, that belief will guide my decisions and approach in the years ahead. In contrast, in only his first month in office, it's become abundantly clear Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about the kitchen table issues that matter to most Americans. Trump and the billionaire advisors he has surrounded himself with don't give a damn about what it takes for a working family to put food on the table and keep a roof above their heads, let alone make a better life for themselves and their loved ones. When it comes to making real progress for working families, our greatest successes come when we unite together on the issues that connect us. The issue that connects us. Economic opportunity. That's what union power is all about. It's about building a multi-generational, multiracial coalition of every worker. As an organizer, I know alone no one person can take on the ultra-wealthy and the powerful. But by joining together in a union, working people have secured better wages, workplace protections, healthcare, and the weekend. Because here's the thing, unions expand opportunities for all workers, not just those who are members. At a time when Donald Trump and his billionaire backers are carving up the federal government to sell for parts and plotting to offset tax breaks with for their fat cat friends by taking money out of Americans' pockets, we need union power more than ever. Trump knows it too. That's why he's wasted no time dismantling workers' collective bargaining protections, elevating billionaires with records of offshoring, union busting, and workers' rights violations, and bringing his most dangerous and unpopular Project 2025 agenda to life. In response, as the true party of labor and working people, Democrats will stand with unions and up for all working people in the halls of Congress, in state houses, on the picket lines, and in the streets. With Donald Trump and his corrupt billionaire cabinet in office, the stakes have never been higher for the working people. Just take a look. I'm going to pause here. This is a wonderful ad for why everyone should join a union. This is a wonderful advertisement for why unions are good and useful. But you know what it's not? A plan of action from the leader of the Democratic Party. This tells us nothing about what Ken Martin's plan is. And I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. Basically, the next page and a half, sorry, 2 pages, 2.5 pages are just all about the bad things Donald Trump is doing. And Donald Trump is doing a lot of bad things. You guys know that. I talk about it a lot here on the show. The issue is, I am not the head of the Democratic Party. I wasn't just elected DNC chair. I am not someone who is dictating the direction of the Democrats. I am a streamer who talks about the news and politics. And the issue here, folks, is that we need better from Ken. As he rightly points out, Donald Trump has done an awful lot of damage in his first month. He's been in office for 1 month, and the damage he's done is catastrophic. Planes falling out of the sky. Disease running rampant. Unelected billionaires usurping our democracy. And I'm just going to throw out there that if Donald Trump can do all of that in a month, Ken Martin probably shouldn't have put out this memo right before he fucks off on a nationwide tour. That's what he's doing with his time. He's touring the country to meet with local Democratic Party officials. And you know what? On principle, I don't necessarily disagree with that move. But there is a time and there is a place. And the time to do that is not during an administrative coup by the billionaires in the United States over the government of the United States of America. You don't fuck off as the leader of the opposition party while the Republicans are looting the country. While Democratic officials are being locked out of the Department of Education. Should folks protest Ken Martin when he arrives in their states? Yes! Demand action! Demand a plan! Demand more! Demand a fight! Because we do not need a tour of the country right now to see the damage that is being done. We need a fighter. Someone who will walk to the doors of the Department of Education that are being locked to members of Congress and to say, let me in before I break down this door. That's the kind of leadership we need. We do not need, in this moment of crisis, a man going around to every single congressional district in America while we're in the midst of a constitutional crisis. Do that after the crisis is over. It's a worthy project, just not right now. Firestar, awesome. That is not a question that is capable of being asked or answered here. For obvious reasons, I cannot tell you or advocate for you to use arms against the state. That should be pretty obvious. Do not Fed post. Those are questions to be asked on secure chat lines with vetted friends. Those are not questions for here. So I'm going to read the last paragraph of this memo from Ken Martin. In his first term, Donald Trump relentlessly pursued policies that harmed working families. But his first month back in office proves he was just getting started. Trump and his billionaire backers are hell-bent on attacking working families and dismantling the unions that protect workers in order to enrich themselves. As Democrats, it is our responsibility to stand up for the working people and unite behind the kitchen table issues that connect us all. As I take over as chair of the DNC, union workers and labor leaders will be core to my decision making. As Trump wages his war on working families, Democrats will fiercely answer the call to my favorite old union song, Which Side Are You On? I'll tell you what, Democrats are on the side of the worker. We will show Americans every day that workers, in fact, do have more power than any billionaire. And, that's it. The entire rest of the memo here is just about all of the bad things that Donald Trump has done. And they are extensive and they are scary. They are worth talking about. But what we need from the leader of the Democratic Party is not a regurgitation of all of the bad things Donald Trump has done. It is a battle plan for what the Democrats will do. And just saying a bland platitude about centering unions, centering labor leaders, centering, the concerns of the worker without laying out the policies you will embrace and put forward and pursue. It's all just hot air until you actually commit to the bit. So if you're gonna, if Ken Martin is coming to your neck of the woods, you protest him. You demand action from him. If he's taking questions from the crowd, you ask him what is he going to do, and don't let him weasel out with some petty bullshit about how he's going to center working class families. No, what is he actually going to do? What are the action points? We need better than platitudes. Platitudes will not save the republic. Jack, what kind of tour? It could be good. He's doing a tour of every congressional district in America. And one shot, as I have said numerous times here, the idea of doing a tour like that as an incoming DNC chair is a good one. Doing it right now in the midst of a constitutional crisis, as hundreds of thousands of people get laid off, as we lose functionality of our government, and a modern day King George waltzes all over our Constitution, that's not the time for it. There's a time and a place, and right now, that isn't it. So, again, bringing it all back for a moment to Dave Zirin's piece. Why Democrats won't throw a real punch. It's because the entire consulting class the entire Democratic establishment is riddled through with this neoliberal bullshit. Whether it is someone who is advising politicians or someone who is a politician, they are mealy-mouthed by design. And many of them agree with what Elon Musk is doing. Many of them have received money from donors who agree with what Elon Musk is doing, with what Donald Trump is doing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is up to us to force the action that they do not want to take. So, email, call, visit their offices, protest them wherever they are, protest them even if you have to go to their donors to protest the donors for donating to them. That's what you got to do. That's the call to this particular moment. Now, if you need help on any of those fronts, okay, I'm gonna make it as easy for you as I can. All right? Here is a website, fivecalls.org. Okay? This website explains that for the sake of different, if you are going to call your representatives, call every single weekday, 5 calls. Each call every week you need to have a different topic Monday, different topic Tuesday, different topic Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can repeat them next week. But the way these offices tally up and count these calls for your elected officials relies on you doing those 5 calls and making each one of those about something different. Okay? Additionally, you need to go and protest. You can find or make local protests with Indivisible via mobilize.us/indivisible. Okay? It's another tool you have at your disposal. If you have a little bit more gumption in you, you can also protest Elon Musk at your local Tesla dealership. There is a new website called Tesla Takedown, started by Alex Winter, Hollywood director Alex Winter. Sell your Teslas, dump your stock, stop Musk now. Take action at Tesla showrooms. You can find protests with this website. Okay? Additionally, folks, rack your brains. Join your local Democratic Party. If you need help finding them, you can join our Discord and reach out to Dragonfly. Dragonfly in our Discord is our resident Democrat whisperer. She will help you find your local Democrats, join them, and hopefully radicalize them. We also have in our Discord Gamergy. If you need help joining your local DSA, talk with Gamergy or Christina. Both work. Okay? Talk with Christina. She will help you join your local DSA. We have had dozens of people now join their local DSAs and start becoming more politically active. And let's make that an even bigger number. Yes, Alex Winter of Bill and Ted. Yes. So, we've got work to do. A lot of work to do. And they're not going to make it easy for us. But we're going to do that work. Because we have to. And we'll try and have some fun along the way. We'll do our best. Fuck Donald Trump, fuck Elon Musk, and fuck these fascist ghouls.